What we are covering today is the AI rush. How do you take all of this excitement and energy, buzz, and you could even use the word hype, and how do you take all of this and turn it into actual insights you can use to be able to uncover what's happening with your customers and what's happening in your conversations? So we're going to start high level of why is the hype here? What is actually happening? Because technologies are getting created all the time. What is different about this one? What's special about this one? Why has it kind of infiltrated a very interesting part of our brains where AI is, I would say, the biggest technology that folks are talking about, certainly since the internet. So that's what we're going to cover today. And here are the topics. What's behind the AI rush? What AI systems are businesses implementing most effectively? So if you kind of funnel it down a little more, how do you go from rush to like thinking about, your first sort of purchase in AI or first sort of implementation or in-house build? How do we then get competency in AI throughout our organizations? How do you make your organization AI savvy? That's actually, I think, one of the key things that folks are looking to achieve today, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. The next is, with AI, how is data analysis changing? What did data analysis look like before AI? What does it look like now? And then all the way down to what specific customer insights can we extract using AI and how can we do it? First, where is the landscape? One of the things that our Balto research lab has done, we had this group inside Balto called the Conversation Excellence Lab. And every 6 months, we're surveying folks to say, well, who's using AI? How many people are using AI now versus 6 months ago? And we just saw the biggest jump that we've ever seen, which is plus 49 points. That's not 49%. Remember, if we're doubling it, so it's almost 100% increase, plus 49 points of managers reported using AI over the last 6 months, where in February it was 41%. And in September, when we did our last survey of over 400 contact center managers, it was 90%. How the heck is this possible? So what I'll first let you know is I don't think that 49 points, 1 out of every 2 people went and purchased an AI tool in the last 6 months. I don't think that's what happened. I think that part of it is now people are just calling everything AI. So maybe 6 months ago, you were using Gmail and you had your Smart Compose and you used it to finish your emails. And you said, I'm not using AI. But now, since it's kind of in the common awareness, everyone goes, oh, yeah, I use Gmail Smart Compose. So I think part of it is people are just calling everything AI. I think some portion of companies in this 49 points really did buy AI. And the third thing I think we saw is that existing softwares everywhere are embedding some sort of AI capabilities into their product, and they need to do it, at least to some extent, free of charge. It's very hard to say you can have the dumb version of our product, the old SaaS software, no AI version, or you can upgrade to AI. You need to have something. And I think every single technology tool we've used has done this. I know it's happening in all the technology companies' board meetings. They're saying what's on your AI roadmap and how you bring it to your market. So I think that's a big piece of it as well. But still, this is showing the progress of how nearly twice as many people now say they're using AI now versus what they said 6 months ago. So what's behind this? The thing that I'll hear all the time from Balto's prospects or customers or just folks I'm talking to in general, you probably hear it too, is if we don't implement AI, we'll get left behind. Usually we'll get left behind by the competition, or we'll be at a competitive disadvantage to the competition. And I think that there's actually something deeper underlying this. Getting left behind is really about a few different needs that need to be satisfied. I think the biggest and most important is the need to understand. I then think they're trying to justify it with business results. So I think it starts with, we need to get our arms around this. We need to know what's going on. I then think it goes to, we have our senior finance leaders and our company executives, and we need to show that we're not just investing in a science project. And I think the last piece, and this is a little bit of an uncomfortable conversation, but it's one that is happening. So, I would definitely caution folks, don't delude yourself that there's no conversations around replacing people with technology. Replacing people with technology has been happening since technology was invented, and folks are trying to figure out like smart business strategies to do it while also taking care of their workforce and making sure that they're creating opportunities for people, not just taking away opportunities for people. But it is happening. It is happening. And what folks are thinking is, man, what if wages continue to go up? What if labor becomes harder and harder to find people? What if attrition gets higher and talent leaves and it's harder to retain people? How do we try to make sure that we're resilient in the case this crazy labor economy where one year it seems like there's this hiring surge and the next year it seems like there's mass layoffs and the next year people are coming back and hiring again and the next year you can't find talent? Like, that's a pretty crazy labor market we've experienced over the last few years, and companies are saying, how do we get off of that hamster wheel? Is there a way that we can de-risk some of that? So I think this is the core need. So then we want to ask, okay, let's say I'm trying to implement AI. Where do I start? And I think it's important to start with the fact that there's really two different types of AI systems. There's an autonomous AI and a hybrid AI. An autonomous AI is an AI that is taking action without the human having to do anything. A couple other examples might be a chatbot, where you're talking to a chatbot on a website and it's just going back and forth with you. There's no human checking every message. So those are examples of autonomous AI, which also in the AI research world are called genies. And fun fact, I actually pulled this cool piece of art, and it was from, I believe, the 1300s, and the word genie comes from the word jinn, which is an Arabic word. I'm sure I mispronounced it. And that is actually a like spirit or force that grants your wish. Then you got hybrid AI. So this is something that's not acting just on its own. There's some person interacting with the system. So example might be conversation intelligence, where you're asking the AI a question and getting it to figure out different information about your customer conversations. Hybrid AI is known as an oracle. And this is an old painting of an oracle. You ask it a question and it gives you an answer. We can think about autonomous as a genie, hybrid as an oracle. So autonomous AI, we're seeing it progress at breakneck speeds. Like, you've probably interacted with a chatbot or an LLM or a voice assistant, and it's getting better and better and better, which is awesome. But it's not quite ready yet. And there's a few different limitations that people experience when they're reaching out to this. The first might be hallucinations, which would be an AI kind of looking at a data set or a question and producing an answer that wasn't there. So for example, if you asked an AI it to analyze a conversation, and the conversation was between an agent and a customer, and the agent is trying to book an appointment for the customer's home, and then you ask the AI, did the spouse, was the spouse present on the phone? And the AI might actually hear them talking about the spouse and say the spouse to be present, for an appointment, but wasn't present right there on the phone. But it might go, oh yeah, the spouse was there. It wasn't actually talked about. You have no way of actually knowing, but often the AI will kind of inject information that wasn't quite there. Another example of different limitations would be inference. And that's going to be when an AI kind of takes one fact to be true and then implies that other things might also be true. So a really good example is think about all these very complex political questions that get asked, and the different dialogue and how the AI is trying to be very sensitive with it. The AI wants to give you a good answer, but it wants to also make sure that it gives you an answer within the confines of how it's been trained. So it might often assume people think or feel a certain way because that's how it's been trained. It's been trained to make sure it's being politically correct, or trained to make sure it's being careful about certain topics. So it might actually just assume that people have a certain set of expectations that aren't actually there. And the third is this concept, humanness. That's super simple. That is just simply that an AI lacks some of the human capabilities that we have. So there are times where you might ask an AI a question, and if you're talking to a friend or a coworker, they would get what you mean, but an AI just might not get what you mean, or might not respond in a way that like has the right tone or really takes into account the right context. So those are things that today are limitations for AI, but they're not going to be limitations forever. And fun fact, folks, I actually took these words, hallucination, inference, and humanness, and I put them into DALL-E, which is an AI that generates images. And when you look at these limitations in terms of business, they all present some form of risk. And that might be hallucination, the AI providing the customer wrong information that could allow the customer to make a bad choice or have a bad experience. It could be that the AI just isn't quite understanding the customer, what the customer wants, and that annoys them or makes them feel like they're not being heard. And then the last is that customers might feel deflected. That's a little bit of like pattern recognition or habits, because AI has historically, in the contact center, often been used to deflect or reroute customers, or, in nicer terms, self-serve. And customers kind of have this expectation that, oh, here we go. The company doesn't want to talk to me and they're having me talk to their AI. So these are just a couple risks of having totally autonomous AI, even though it's very powerful and getting better every single day. So one of the things that I think people make a mistake on is they think, okay, if I'm putting an AI in place because it is intelligent, I don't have to follow up with it or look at it, or I put it in and there it goes and it's great and it's up and running. But inspection is part of the process for AI, like it is with traditional management, managing people. And I'm not sure if anyone recognizes who these folks are. I'd love to hear, if you know, throw it in the chat. Who is in this picture? Well, the way left, the person on the left, is the famous Andy Grove, former CEO at Intel. And Andy Grove wrote this, book, High Output Management. And one of the things that he talked about is the really important, the importance of making sure that you're inspecting work, and how it's not like you only inspect work because you're trying to find problems or because you don't trust people or anything like that. Like, you're inspecting work because simply when you're checking the outcomes, it makes the work better. It makes sure that you're stopping problems before they happen. It holds the process accountable. So inspection isn't something that you do because you don't trust your workforce. It's something that you do because that actually enables people to do their best work. And he gives an example, I think it's a donut factory. Imagine you have a conveyor belt and no one ever checks how the donuts came out. That would be crazy. And this is the kind of the mindset that people often have with technology, which is, oh, I don't need to inspect it. But the answer is especially with AI that's making its own decisions or giving you its own answers, in order for it to do its best work, you got to monitor it just like you would an employee. So there's an interesting effect called the Hawthorne effect. And if you're familiar with it, I'd love to see your answer. Throw it here in the chat. The Hawthorne effect is this psychological effect that people tend to perform better when they're being observed. So if somebody knows that someone else is watching and monitoring performance tends to go up. And I think actually there's like a greater truth there, which is that not only do people do better when they're observed, but I think that machines also will do better when they're observed. And basically, it's the concept that what gets your attention ends up getting results. I think folks have heard the saying, expect what you inspect, or something close to that. That's kind of, the big takeaway here. So if we're going to have to look at this AI and we're going to have to inspect it no matter what it is, when do you inspect it? How often do you do this? And how do you make sure that the AI is producing the results you want it to? And the answer for an autonomous AI or a hybrid AI is like always. You actually want to inspect it as much as you humanly can. So if you have a chatbot and you're standing up a totally autonomous LLM chatbot, you want to check like the first 1,000 repetitions to make sure that it's giving the right answers as much as possible. Not only does that allow you to train it and say right, wrong, to help the AI be smarter, but you also get this competency in where does it go well and where does it not go well. So when you're thinking about implementing AI and you're starting out with it, I would say the answer is like, get in there and expect it as much as you humanly can until you get to the point where you're really confident that you've done this hundreds or thousands of times and everyone goes, cool, I really know how this thing works and I feel really comfortable with it. So we kind of have these two approaches. There's implement AI and just leave it alone, leave it on the shelf, and there's interact with AI and learn as much as possible from it. And what I'm proposing to you all today is don't implement AI and leave it alone. That's not going to lead to good results. You want to interact with AI. And while you're doing so, you both make the AI effective and you're teaching your company how to think about it and how to work with it. So AI is actually working as this interface. It's this ability to get to your data. And there's a few different functions that AI is really good at. The first is cataloging your data, which is looking through mass amounts of CRM data or conversation data or whatever it is, and labeling it, putting it in buckets. So an example might be, in your customer conversations, here are all the calls where this product was mentioned. Here are all the calls where the rep communicated in a respectful manner. Here's all the calls where a competitor was mentioned. And think about having to catalog that manually. Like you have to listen to every call and hit yes, no, yes, no. But AI can just automatically catalog. All right, I took your big data set and put it into like really easy to read and interface with data. So that's kind of the first thing it's doing. The second thing is going to be the ability to search that data, to be able to go into it and ask it a question and say, what happened? Pull me out a particular instance where, you name it, where there was a customer complaint, where, you name it. So we're first having the ability to catalog it and say, kind of, label my data set so we know what's going on. The second is the ability to actually search and dig down and say, show me these instances, pull out the things that are happening. And the third might be the ability to analyze it. And you say, great, now we know all these instances are happening. Put it on a graph for me. Show me how it's changing over time. Show me how it varies by different person in my workforce. So AI is not actually generating new data. It's the ability to get to your data in the first place. So if the data has always been there and people were always able to analyze it, what's different? Why is this AI craze happening? Why is AI different? And the answer is that now you can do this in seconds. Whereas previously it might take weeks, now you can get an answer in seconds. Whereas previously you needed an executive sponsor and a team, now anybody can type a freaking question into a box and get the answer back. The speed that AI allows you to operate at and the democratization, the fact that anybody can do it, these are the things that are truly different with AI today. So the big points that we covered today, I started high level, the AI rush. We need to get this competency. We need to understand how this tool works. That's where folks can get left behind. It's not like you need to buy something today. That hybrid AI is the best way to get into AI without having to incur the risks of it hallucinating, giving your customers wrong answers, or making them feel unappreciated. There's definitely great autonomous AI tools out there, but if you all are trying to get started, start with an AI tool that you're going to interact with a lot. AI can accelerate your time to answer, speed, and can democratize insights. And then generative AI tools like Balto GPT are available today that help you uncover insights. And we're now at the point, folks, where you can interact with most of these tools using natural language. No code. I can't write a single line of code. So if you ask me, Mark, can you put something cool in Python? I can't even write a single line of code, but I can use AI and use Balto GPT. How crazy is that? Thank you all so much for joining today. This was super fun for me. I hope you enjoyed it as well. Please do connect me on LinkedIn or send me a note or something. I'd love to hear from you. And thank you so much, and talk to you all next time.